Finally, the mental health and psychology industry is starting to wake up to this pattern. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. All right, let's talk about talking about your problems. I've been saying this for over probably 15 years. And it's just, if you study basic neuroscience, there's a couple of things that happen. So there's a law called Hebb's Law, and that states that circuits in the brain that fire together, wire together. Now, the other thing that I know and that most people should be aware of, especially if they're working in those industries, should be that we have mental habits, emotional habits, and physiological habits, which means our posture can be a habit, our movements and mannerisms can be a habit. It also means that our thoughts can be a habit, and also our emotions and our emotional triggers can become habits. Now, if we keep doing something over and over and over again, it creates a repetition. That repetition then becomes a habit, and over time it can potentially become an addiction if it's problematic. What really bothered me many, many years ago was that this idea came out that men need to talk about their problems. And there was this whole movement around men talking more, men talking more, men talking about their problems. And then a lot of therapy was based around talking. So the theory was that if people talk about their problems, they feel better. But that is not always the case. In fact, most of the time, that's not the case at all. What will happen is that they will feel better in the moment, but long term, it doesn't help them to achieve outcomes. Now, if you ask a heroin addict when they're going through withdrawals, whether they feel like heroin, they're going to say yes. And it's going to make them feel better. That does not mean that it's a good long-term solution. If someone has a headache because they keep sitting in the same chair and their posture's all screwed up and maybe the light is too bright for their eyes and now they're getting headaches and migraines, taking a Panadol isn't a good solution. But in the moment, it will make them feel better. So a lot of the time, basing how you feel or whether something's working based on how you feel may not be beneficial long term. So the problem that I had was that I kept saying that, yes, you need to talk about problems with the right person. So here's where the industry makes a massive mistake. First of all, if I'm a business owner and I talk to someone who is a non-business owner about my problems, I may get everything off my chest. Now, sometimes it helps because if I can talk it out, then I can think it out and then I can work it out. Now, that's okay for some people. A very few percentage of the population that works for. So sometimes I'll walk out to Jess, I say how I'm stuck here, I'm going around here, I feel like this, and I'll talk through it with her and bang, I'm good, I'm onto it, and then I can go and work through a resolution because I've spoken about it and spoken through it. But I'm looking for a solution when I'm talking about the problem. If you go and you talk to friends and family about problems that you have, if they aren't qualified, as in, when I say qualified, I don't mean qualified as in you've gone to university and have a qualification, because most of those people aren't fucking qualified. They're not qualified because they don't have results. You can have a business degree and have never run a business before. You can have a psychology degree and be mentally fucked up and on a bunch of antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and have a whole list of labels that you represent. I don't think any of those things are effective. So what you want is you want to talk to a qualified person who is qualified to help you to resolve that problem. Something that we also have to understand is that normally most of the time when men talk about problems, they want a solution. When women talk through their problems, in most cases, they actually start to get a resolution inside their own mind and they problem solve it themselves. So both men and women tend to operate differently if they're, depending on whether they're more masculine or feminine in the moment. Now, there's a whole episode here on masculine and feminine energy. Go and listen to it if you're unsure about what I'm talking about here. But women normally who are more feminine deal with issues and deal with problems different than men that are masculine. That is highly obvious. It's well researched. There is a lot of data out there on that. Although in this day and age, people are arguing over the most irrelevant, insignificant shit because of a small minority of the population who want to debate whether, what genders are and who does what and whether things are masculine and feminine. Just go back and listen to the episode where I spoke about masculine and feminine energy because it'll make more sense. It is a philosophy and it's been around for thousands of years. And when you understand it, it makes things more easy to understand. So that's why I talk about it, because there are times where I'm feminine, but I'm naturally more of a masculine man. That is more of my natural energy. But there are people out there, my cousin, he's gay, and he is very feminine. So he's a feminine male. Now, not all gay people are feminine. Not all gay males are feminine. Some are, some aren't. But men normally talk about their problems so that they can resolve the problem. Now, when they just keep talking about their problems over and over and over again, What it does is it normally creates something else. And it's called a neuroassociation, where we start associating other things with what we're going through. So, for example, if I'm stressed and I'm 14 years of age and I go to catch up with my friends and they say, hey, do you want a beer? I start drinking that beer with my friends and now I feel less stressed. Now, could it be the beer? Yeah, maybe. Could it be the friendship? Yeah, maybe. Could it be that I'm sitting with my friends talking? Yeah, maybe. So if we look at that pattern, if we do that enough times, the brain creates these neuroassociation, which means it links or associates other things that are going on with the mental and emotional pattern that's happening. So our brain is wiring these associations to that thing, which is why now you might be a 45-year-old male, you're driving home from work, and as you're cruising down the road, you've had a stressful day and you start going, man, I could really deal with a pizza and a beer. Now, you don't really want a pizza and a beer, but what you're doing is you're wanting what is associated with the pizza and the beer. If you're used to eating food like pizza around friends and family on special occasions growing up as a child, now you're a 45 or 40-year-old adult driving home from work, you've had a shitty day, you're stressed out, you're frustrated, you feel disconnected. And so now pizza makes you feel connected again. It makes you feel like you've got family around. Maybe it makes you feel warm or homely. All of those associations that are connected to the pizza from when you're a young child. This is the reason why companies like McDonald's try to get kids going to McDonald's and why they have things like a Happy Meal. Happiness is one of the first feelings that kids start to learn and have an association with. So now they get a Happy Meal, they get a toy, mum and dad are there, they're having fun, there's a playground. They're associating all of those situations and all of those feelings with McDonald's. So now they're a 30-year-old adult driving home from a stressful day at work and all they want is McDonald's. They actually don't want the McDonald's, they want the associations that they had when they were a child. So this is very well known in fields of neuroscience, psychology, psychiatry, mental health. This is all well known. And so when we're talking about people talking about their problems, if I get home from work and I bitch and moan and complain and I feel more connected to my intimate partner, after a while, I just get home from work and I complain because it makes me feel connected. A lot of people that I deal with who come to me for, like, let's say I have a couple who come to one of my events like Thrive Time, or maybe they come in for some one-on-one coaching. And what will happen is that they will naturally start to complain about problems and I show them the association. And I say, can you see that over a period of time, you naturally just get in the habit of complaining about problems because you connect with people through problems. And they go, oh, fuck, I never realized that. That's a neural association. So when I go to work sites, right, like part of something that a lot of blue collar workers do is that they will get together with a group of people. They bitch and moan and complain about how shit their industry is, how crap the working environment is, how they never make enough money. If they're business owners, how they can't find good staff. And it becomes a habit. It becomes a pattern over time where they learn how to complain about things because it gives them connection. It makes them feel empowered. They feel like they can talk or they can communicate with other people. It's a way of associating with others around them, especially when a lot of other people do the same thing. It makes them feel like they fit in. All of these things happen as a neural association. So you have to be really careful with these patterns. So now if you've been going to therapy for 30 years and you go and see the therapist and you walk in there and you complain about your problems and then the therapist listens and they say, oh, well, yeah, okay, you could maybe try some other things. And you go, wow, I feel better now. And you walk out of there. You have an association with a therapist that every time you go to the therapist, you feel better afterwards. But all you've done is talk and created associations that problems equal connection. Now, I had this many, many years ago where I was working with coaches and I would rock up to a coaching session thinking, what problem am I going to try to solve? And so I would look for problems in my life so that I could speak to my coach or my mentor. I would search for problems in my business so that I could get on the phone and talk about all these problems and complain about shit. When I realized that that's a really bad strategy for hiring a coach, now I get on there and I talk about all of our wins and where we're going next. So I'm focused on where we're moving towards, not where we are today, and not the problems that we currently face. Because if I do that all the time, it creates a relationship based on that. So it's good now to see that there is more data and evidence coming out that's showing that therapy that does that is not a good idea. And so the problem that I have is we have this whole generation of people that have been taught that talking about your problems helps, and it's a thing that helps with mental health. I disagree with that. Talking about your problems with the right person in the right time in the right environment, yes, it works and it can help. Talking about your problems with the wrong people in the wrong environment at the wrong time can cause it to become a neural association and actually make it a habit, which then will make you feel like shit all the time. And you won't realize why you're stuck in that pattern of behavior. So if you're someone right now who is consistently stressed about problems, or you're consistently stressed, or you're consistently frustrated, or you consistently feel stuck, it may be because it's a neural association. And maybe you get connection, maybe you build relationships, maybe people around you connect with you and associate with you on those problems or those issues that you keep having. Be very, very careful about that. Anyway, I just wanted to share because I heard someone finally who was a psychologist talking about this online the other day, and I went, hallelujah. I'm so glad that they're starting to do more research on this and realizing that talking about problems doesn't solve problems. Talking about problems is a step in a problem-solving equation, but if the rest of the equation is fucked, then that won't work. So please, guys, make sure that you're working with the right people in order to grow and in order to excel. If you're a business owner and you want to grow, you should be working with business coaches and mentors that can help you to grow and be an environment of growth-driven people, not be surrounded with other business owners who are stuck and all complaining about shit. If you do that, you will be one of them. Okay, and if you don't want to be one of them, then don't be one of them. If you're someone who isn't a business owner, yet you're wanting to achieve more in life, then make sure you're hanging out with high achievers and are consistently learning and growing and developing yourself, and you're looking towards the future growth that you want. Not too much, because if you do it too much and you focus on it all the time, you'll probably have anxiety because you'll be chasing something in the future. But if you set a good game plan, like I teach at Thrive Time, where you build your own success map in life, it allows you then to just work on daily habits in your daily plan. And if you do that, you'll just be able to execute and you'll crush it in life and you'll feel fulfilled. Which is why I know I've got goals in the future, but I don't stress about them every day, because if not, it causes me a lot of angst and a lot of stress and pressure. And I don't like operating that way. I just prefer to stay calm. Anyway, Driven Mofos, I hope this helps. Please remember to share this podcast with your friends and family. Post it on social media. Tag me in it, especially if it's on Instagram. Please make sure you share it and tag me, and I'll share it on my page as well in order to direct traffic to your page as well. So hopefully some of my community go to you as well. Anyway, Driven Mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass, and I look forward to you joining me back here once again for another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.